Stoker was also business manager, secretary and friend to Henry Irving, the greatest, most celebrated actor of the age, and as a young writer, it was Arthur Conan Doyle's abiding ambition to create a role for Henry Irving. Oscar was pleased to assist in throwing Conan Doyle and Bram Stoker together. Oscar and Bram were fellow Dubliners. "We go back a long way," said Oscar. "We know one another's secrets." In 1878, Bram had married Oscar's first sweetheart, almond-eyed Florence Balcombe. Walter Sickert, the artist, was another long-established friend. He was my age, 31, but Oscar had known him since he was a boy. As a young man, Oscar had holidayed with the Sickerts in Dieppe, and though Watt, as a lad, had been suspicious of Oscar, as the years passed and their intimacy grew, the artist and the writer found that they had much in common. "We both hunger for laughter, outrage, and applause," said Sickert. He agreed to join the Socrates Club on condition that he was not obliged to change for dinner, and that smoking would be permitted even before the loyal toast. When Conan Doyle tut-tutted at this, Sickert pointed out that Socrates was an anagram of coarsest, and won the point. Conan Doyle and Sickert found they shared a passion for wordplay and Henry Irving. Before he became a full-time artist, Sickert had been a part-time actor. Aged 18, he had joined Irving's company as a utility player, one of the Lyceum young men, as they were known. As well as carrying a spear and swelling the crowd, he was given the occasional line to declaim. "Irving seemed to like me because I was young and fair-haired," he told Conan Doyle. "I worshipped Irving because he was Irving, and he noticed me." The Socrates Club met in the private dining room on the ground floor of the recently opened Cadogan Hotel on the corner of Sloane Street and Pont Street, a few minutes' walk from Oscar's house in Tite Street. The hotel had once been the home of Oscar's particular friend and the Prince of Wales's sometime mistress, Lily Langtry, and Mrs. Langtry, who retained a suite at the hotel, was occasionally to be seen in the hotel foyer by the porter's desk, wearing one of her famous hats and engaging the notorious hotel parrot, the predictably named Captain Flint, in brittle conversation. The parrot was a vile creature, noisy and noisome. Why Mrs. Langtry found him so fascinating none of us could fathom. Why every man who ever met her was taken with the Jersey Lily was not so difficult to comprehend. She was bewitching, and a survivor. Conan Doyle, who was especially smitten, said she had the face of the most beautiful of women and the mind of the most resolute of men. The club secretary was Alphonse Bird, the resident night manager at the Cadogan, a man in his mid-50s who was so thin and pale and bald that he looked like a walking skeleton. His appearance was memorable, but so far as I could tell, he had no personality to speak of. He rarely uttered a word or looked one in the eye, but Oscar liked him and found his faded appearance strangely comforting. As a young man, Bird had worked the halls as a conjurer and illusionist, and failed. "There's mildew in his soul," said Oscar. "Failure is so much more interesting than success. I'd much rather read Napoleon's biography than Wellington's, wouldn't you?" In fairness to Bird, as club secretary he did a first-class job. He was responsible for the menus, the wines, and the table setting, and given the relatively modest cost of the meal, £0.50 per diner, all in, he did us proud. Oscar insisted on 6 courses. As well as the customary soup, fish, roast meats, and desserts, Bird laid on a selection of hors d'oeuvres, invariably including Russian caviar, Dutch herrings, prawns, lobster, pickled tunny, smoked salmon and smoked ham, and both savoury and sweet vegetable and fruit entremets. Each member of the club was allowed to invite 1 guest to each dinner, gentlemen only, or, by permission of the founder, certain actresses. Mrs. Langtry came twice, and Watt Sickert sometimes arrived late, bringing one of his theatrical lady friends in tow.